The Detroit Lions finished the 2023 regular season with a 12-5 record and won the NFC North for the first time ever. Their previous division title came back in 1993 when the NFC North was the NFC Central, and it was during the middle of the Barry Sanders era. The Lions have went through a lot this century, including an 0-16 season and countless last-place division finishes. For so long, it was easy to say they're the same old Lions and to count them out and to automatically assume they weren't going to be competing for anything when late December rolled around. But that all changed back in January of 2021 when new head coach Dan Campbell was hired. Dan preached that going through adversity and that being the last one standing, along with working hard and playing smart, would win the team football games. It would take time, of course, but once these changes were implemented, this would be a good football team and a tough out every January. 2021 was certainly a tough year as they started 0-10 and won through the first 11 games. But they finished the year strong as they won 3 of their final 6 before going 9-8 in 2022 and 12-5 in 2023 and winning their first playoff game since back in 1991. The Lions' rebuild has taken a couple of years, but they are ready to win a Super Bowl. A lot of pieces have to align in order for a team to win it all, but the Lions have done everything right over the past few years, and in today's video we're going to break down why Detroit is ready to take the final step. Now let's begin. Building an NFL franchise is a complex task, and there's several answers or ways to go about building an NFL franchise. Some NFL teams have better offenses than they do defenses, and some NFL teams have better defenses than they do offenses. Detroit in 2023 had a much better offense than defense, as they finished first in rushing touchdowns, third in total yards, and fifth in points per game offensively, while they finished 27th in passing yards allowed, 27th in passing touchdowns allowed, and 23rd in points allowed per game. It may surprise you to know that despite this, they were very good as a rushing defense as they finished top 3 in rushing yards allowed and top 3 in rushing yards allowed per attempt. Really, aside from the Ravens game on the road last year and the Bears game on the road, the Lions didn't have many bad games, and even though they went 12-5, you can certainly argue with the Dallas game in Week 17 that they very easily could have went 13-4. It was without a doubt one of the most successful years in Lions franchise history, and whenever a team has a good year like this, it's easy to buy into the following year and to think they can take another step moving forward. It's always easier to project the absolute best for a team moving forward rather than the worst, or at least in a negative light. But with the Lions, I am a believer in what they're doing, and it starts with the coaching staff. With Dan Campbell being a former player and him preaching about biting kneecaps and him doing push-ups with the team to show he's all in with the players, there's this belief that Dan is a big meathead, and that basically because he's a big meathead, there's this thought that there's no way he knows what he's doing or that he's insane with some of the calls he makes, specifically going for it on 4th down as much as the Lions do. But every Lions player I've heard do interviews over the past 24 months have all said Dan is one of the smartest football minds they've ever been around. Not just, yeah, he's a smart guy or he knows a lot, but one of the smartest they've ever been around. Whether it was Jared Goff or Amon-Ra St. Brown on Pardon My Take, or Alex Anzalone on Greenlight with Chris Long, or Aiden Hutchinson, the point is, Motor City Dan Campbell is not just some beefy guy that tries to be an enforcer. He is incredibly smart, and so is offensive coordinator Ben Johnson. I, along with most Lions fans, think Ben will leave at some point to go be a head coach of an NFL team, and I thought he was going to leave this past offseason. Whether it was getting Jaden Daniels in Washington or getting to work with Justin Herbert in LA, I thought Ben would be on the move. I think him staying is a pretty big showing of the level of respect not only the players, but the coaching staff has for MCDC and the rest of the Lions roster. And whenever a team makes a run, they usually have several departures in either free agency or have other teams raid their coaching staff. For reference, the Ravens had multiple position coaches and their defensive coordinator leave this offseason while also losing guys like Patrick Queen, Jadeveon Clowney, Geno Stone, Gus Edwards, and Kevin Zeitler in free agency. That's 6 starters in free agency alone that they had to replace from 2023 to 2024, and 7 if you include Odell Beckham Jr., who wasn't a huge contributor for the Ravens, and a guy who only played 50% of the team's snaps, but you get the point. Detroit, on the other hand, kept both coordinators and lost guard Jonah Jackson in free agency to the Rams, defensive back CJ Gardner-Johnson, and wide receiver Josh Reynolds. CJ only played 3 regular season games for the Lions, and he did have a postseason interception against the Bucs, but for as excited as Lions fans were for that signing, rightfully so, by the way, it's not like they didn't get used to a life without having him, as he missed most of the year. Brian Branch is going to be a very good player for a long time, and they kind of already had the CJ replacement on their roster in Brian Branch. And they also drafted 2 corners with their first 2 picks this year in Terrion Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw Jr. We will get to those guys more later, but I don't worry about the loss of Josh Reynolds too much either, despite him being their 3rd leading receiver last year and despite him playing a critical role at times. Josh signed with the Denver Broncos in free agency, and whether the 3rd receiver this year for the Lions will be Jameson Williams, Khalif Raymond, or Donovan Peoples-Jones, I have confidence that someone can and will step up and get the job done. We often talk about good situations for quarterbacks to succeed in, and in theory, yes, this is a great situation for Jared Goff to succeed in, as he has everything imaginable a quarterback needs at his disposal. But this is also a perfect situation for a Robin of a receiver to succeed in too. With 32 teams and with 5 or 6 receivers on each roster, there's simply no way every guy can be a true number 1 receiver. But being able to get open or be a guy who can be reliable when needed in this offense is huge. Having Amon-Ra and Sam Laporta in front of you in the receiving game, while also having a good offensive line, is a dream for any receiver trying to make a name for themselves and to potentially have a 600 or 700 yard, 5 or 6 touchdown season like Josh just had in 2023. Not only do you have Amon-Ra and Laporta in front of you, but you have both running backs in David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs too, to be able to take the defense's attention away from the number 2 receiver. The Lions finished 5th in points per game last year and had 9 30-point games as a team, and I think they can easily match what they did last year, and I don't think that's unrealistic or crazy expectations relative to the talent they have not only on the roster, but the coaching staff too. We obviously know about the 3 road division games they'll have in 2024, but their other 5 road games are at Dallas, at Indy, at Houston, at Arizona, and at San Francisco. That road schedule isn't going to be easy by any means, but I don't think it's crazy to say the Lions could win 5 of their 8 road games, and if they can go 7-2 or 8-1 at home, which again is very possible, we could be talking about a number 1 seed team that has 13 wins and the highly sought after first round bye. One big reason why I think the Lions are ready to win a Super Bowl is the cards are aligning for them. San Francisco is starting to age, and I know Lions fans were upset with how that game ended, as they should have been, but they can easily beat this team this year. While I think Philly made improvements this offseason, I don't know if they made enough improvements to be able to beat the Lions, because remember, this is a damn good football team. There is very, very few weaknesses on this roster, and at this point heading into the 2024 season, I truly think the biggest threat to the Lions is in their division, and that's the Green Bay Packers. Now, another reason why the stars are aligning for Detroit in 2024 is the division play. Now, yes, I love the future of the Chicago Bears, and I think Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze and DJ Moore will be a great trio of the future. The only reason we didn't include Keenan Allen, of course, is because he's getting old, but even for the 2024 season, that receiving trio is going to be a pain to play for anybody, but they are in year 1 with a rookie quarterback, so there's going to be some kinks to work out. There's going to be some tough times for the Bears in 2024. I don't think a sweep for the Lions is completely unreasonable. Now, I know Bears fans would be quick to point out that the Bears, in fact, should have swept the Lions last year if it wasn't for a 4-minute fourth quarter collapse, but It's not unreasonable to think the Lions can go 5-1 in division play. Now, I know the Vikings have a bright future ahead of them with JJ McCarthy as well, or at least it's perceived that way at this point in time. But again, JJ will be a 21-year-old rookie quarterback. Yes, he obviously has weapons at his disposal, like Justin Jefferson, who Lions fans are, of course, very familiar with, as JJ usually eats against them. But unfortunately for Justin, the Lions, at least over the past 2 years, usually get the win. Now, ultimately, I do think the Lions will split with the Packers, which would put them at 5-1 in division play, and this is for 2024 specifically. Could JJ McCarthy and Caleb Williams have successful NFL careers and be the face of their franchise for years to come? Yes, but in the rookie years against a very good team that can not just go to the Super Bowl, but ultimately win the Super Bowl, winning a game against them is going to be tough for any quarterback, let alone a rookie quarterback in his first 5 or 10 starts, maybe even first 15 starts. You get the point. Now, one thing that I really loved as to what the Lions did this offseason, especially in the draft, was selecting Terrion Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw where they did. I personally thought the Packers were going to select Terrion Arnold if he were there at pick 25, which ultimately the Lions moved up directly in front of their division rival to do so. We saw them do that with Brian Branch last year, and when you look at what the Lions have done, not just in the 2024 draft, but really the past 4 drafts since Brad Holmes took over, they have killed it year after year after year, and yes, they're getting to the point where they pay players, but guess what? Your goal is to extend those players. You want to have good players to be able to pay. And when you align all of the rookie contracts, because remember, Penei Sewell and Amon-Ra are still in their rookie contract for 2024, despite signing the long-term contract extension, all of the stars are aligning for Detroit to win the Super Bowl this year. Even entering the 2025 offseason, the Lions will have a lot of cap space to work with to add to an already loaded roster. There is one caveat here, of course, and it's that Jared Goff will be a free agent, and due to the position he plays, he will probably get at least 45, if not 50 million per year, which will eat into the cap quite a bit, if not more. Taylor Decker will also be a free agent and would not be cheap either. So when you factor these 2 players getting re-signed, the Lions cap space would go down quite a bit. But, and this is a big but here because this could be a 4D chess move by GM Brad Holmes. The Lions traded up in the draft this year to go get tackle Giovanni Manu with their 4th round pick. Now, I love the Lions getting both corners in Arnold and Rakestraw and praised them for those picks, as they were great selections that will see immediate playing time and hopefully improved play from what we saw from the 2023 Lions secondary at times. But Manu was a huge developmental pick. I criticized this pick because of them trading a future 3rd to select him in the 4th, but if Manu works out, then who cares? It's not going to matter. This is projecting the absolute best case scenario for him and the Lions, but there is a possibility the Lions drafted Manu to be the Taylor Decker replacement. There is a possibility they will have a left tackle on a rookie contract in 2025, while still having guys like Jahmyr Gibbs, Brian Branch, Sam Laporta, Jack Campbell, and Aiden Hutchinson all on their rookie deals. When you take a look back at what the Lions have done over the past 3 years and change, really since January 30th of 2021 when they traded former franchise quarterback Matt Stafford, the Lions have done everything the right way. In terms of rebuilding a franchise and hitting on your draft picks, this is about as close to perfect as you're ever going to find over a 3-year span. We're not including the 2024 picks within this, of course, because they haven't played an NFL snap, though I liked their 2024 draft a lot. Sure, you can nitpick some previous drafts and say Levi Onwuzurike was not a good second-round pick back in 2021, or Josh Pascal hasn't lived up to being a second-round pick in his first 2 years, or even Jameson Williams, who I still believe in, by the way, but for as many picks as the Lions have hit on over the past 3 years, this is the exemplary model NFL team should try to emulate moving forward. Also, I know Jameson was a first-round pick, I didn't specifically mention it, but anyways, from Penei and Amon-Ra in 2021 to the Michigan man Aiden Hutchinson, who wanted to be picked second rather than first so he could play for his hometown team and be a part of the rebuild, to James Houston having 8 sacks as a rookie, and to the 2023 draft class that could go down as one of the best this decade, not just for the Lions but for any NFL team. This is how to build a franchise in today's era. CMC will be 28, Trent Williams will be 36, and George Kittle will turn 31 during the 24 season. So the team they lost to last year and the team that's been to 2 Super Bowls and 4 NFC championships in the past 5 years in the 49ers are aging, and this is another reason as to why it is the Lions' year. I expect the NFC North to continue to improve heading into 2025, which will only make the Lions' goal more difficult. Not impossible, of course, but more difficult. And with all of the star players and rookie contracts, before money makes things complicated for everyone, the Detroit Lions are ready to win a Super Bowl. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please like and subscribe, as only about 40% of people watching are subscribed, and it helps the channel tremendously. Also, please check out the Football Analysis Podcast, the link is in the bio, and I will see you next time. Love you guys.